Hey, Mike, on the kick return that Jalen decided opted not to return or field initially, I should say. What was what was the approach supposed to be from him? What was his explanation for why he went about it the way he did, and why was it important to you to make a change there after that?
Yeah, it was one of those situations where we obviously have our rules for the returners to where they place their heels at, and I think he just kind of got lost where he was at when he first ran out there. Then as we looked at it again, he didn't think he was that far back, and it was just one of those things we could learn from. Everyone could learn from, not just him, also all the returners right there. And it's one of those mistakes that we can't have because we put the offense in a terrible situation. And luckily, they bailed us out with that big scoring drive right there. But it's one of those little mental lapses that myself I could be better at, and just keep reminding him. Even if there's a TV timeout, just say, hey, give him a hand signal just to back up right there. So for the most part, it was a collective foo bar from the special team standpoint in there. Then just coming out the half, Jalen getting playing a lot of offense right there and just trying to take something off his plate right there for the time being. We had enough people to jump in. Obviously, Boston, who's done it before, he was willing and able to get in right there and just take something off his plate to be ready for offense and punt return.
John and then Ed Kratz.
Hi, Michael. Kick coverage, especially the opening kick. Obviously, Berrios is a very good returner, but what did you see from your perspective? Was the kickoff executed properly, and what happened on the coverage?
Yeah, just in terms of the kickoff, with as great as Jake's been this year, we wanted a little bit better location off that kick. It kind of just fell into the middle of the field, and the hang time wasn't great. It's tough to cover any kick, regardless of the returner, when there's a bad hang time with the ball in the middle of the field. These guys are extreme athletes, and they can make anything happen from a return standpoint. Well, it's just one of those things where we didn't get the right location that we wanted. And the coverage, even on a bad location, we hang our hat on. We're gonna pick up our other guys right there. So the other 10, with a bad location ball, in our eyes, they just got to cover it up and not make a bad situation worse. And you saw right there, we kind of got stacked in coverage a little bit and got pushed out in the middle of the field, opened up wide in terms of that. But Marcus did a heck of a job at least slowing him down and giving our defense a fighting chance to at least maybe get a field goal out of it or something like that. But we took it on ourselves as a kickoff team. We can't have that, especially to open up a game on the road. To put our defense again in a bad situation. So it wasn't our finest moments, special teams wise, in terms of the game. But the guys battled throughout the game with all of it, and we look to get better. Obviously with the self scout in the bye week than the last 4 games.
Ed and then Jeff McLean.
Yeah, hi, Michael. Just getting back to Jalen Reagor. That mental lapse, I guess, that he had on that kickoff return. Have you noticed? I know the last couple of weeks have been hard for him, but have you noticed any difference in him? Maybe taking some of that on the field with him.
In terms of this, just speaking through special teams, I don't see it. He comes in every week ready to go. He's involved in the game plan in terms of what he likes and what we try to give him and everything. So I don't think anything in terms of off the field or previous weeks really creep in. He comes in, works hard every day, tries to do right by everyone's with everyone. So it's just one of those things where it was just a mental lapse, just like everybody else has in football or in the real world. Something we just can't have. But I don't see anything hindering him from previous weeks in terms of that. But he comes back and fights. Obviously he had that bad kickoff return, but then he came back with that punt return for 20 yards right there to help out that 2-minute drive to get Jake a field goal right there. So it's one of those things where we try to preach next play, and we'll fix it when we can when the film comes back.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Bo Wolf.
Will the taking of the kickoff returns off his plate in the game, will that be permanent?
Permanent. I wouldn't say permanent. We're obviously all being evaluated, myself included. We're going to go through the evaluation of everything, but Jalen, off that, even the first one, he got to the 31-yard line. He brings some explosiveness, and everything's kind of magnified on the returner in those situations, especially kickoff and punt return, because obviously he's the one catching the ball. But there's other factors, and there's the other 10 guys right there. So I wouldn't, say anything like that. We're obviously going to try and put our team in the best situation possible. So we got enough time to go through it and talk about it, but I wouldn't say any of that.
We'll go to Bo and then Mike K.
Hey, Mike, what is the self-scouting process like for you this week?
We go through our all 6 phases on, what things we have done well, things that we could get better at. We also look at some other teams and see what their successes are in different fields like that. So myself, Tyler, and Joe P, we've been spending the last couple of days just kind of combing through everything from our standpoint, obviously our team, then maybe some other teams that have been excelling. So it's just one of those things to kind of just clean up everything, then going forward the next 4 weeks with maybe different ideas or different game plans. But that's basically what we're trying to do these last couple of days.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, you mentioned Joe P. I was just curious, what impact does he have on you as a coach, knowing that he's a former head coach and has been a special teams coordinator? But also, what impact do you see him making on players as well? What's his overall role in the room?
I mean, Joe P., I can't say enough great things about Joe. I obviously was able to work with him 1 year here in, I think, 2015. And he's one of those guys that has a wealth of knowledge. And, one of his best attributes is he connects with everyone in terms, not just from a football level, but just a personal level. Especially in the special teams world where you're dealing with everyone. You just get to know these guys outside of what they're seen as just a football player. And I think Joe P. does a great job in terms of just getting to know the guys, regardless of their status in the NFL, whether they're a rookie or an 8-year veteran. And I think he helps me a lot in terms of bridging the gap between football and personal relationships, which I kind of learned a lot from Richard Hightower in San Francisco, that you got to have some personal relationships in the special teams world, because that's how you get guys really, honing in and playing hard. And I think our guys do a great job of playing hard. I never question their effort or anything like that. And I think Joe P. has a lot of say in all that, and he helps with the game plan. He does cut-ups. He helps, hey, look at this. They're heavy on this tendency. Let's incorporate that. So Joe P., he's a big mentor on myself in terms of coaching. Obviously, he's a head coach and a special teams coordinator. But just in life, just to be a better human being, a better man, Joe P. has really, put his fingerprint on me with that.
We'll go to Martin Frank next.
Hey, Mike. I just saw a stat actually a little while ago that there haven't been any punt returns for touchdowns in the NFL this year, which I think is like the first time ever through 13 games. And I was kind of wondering, does that surprise you? And why is it so hard? And I think Jalen Reagor actually might have had one of the last ones when he did it last year. So if you can just kind of comment on all that. Thanks.
You just put the media jinx on there. There's going to be 6 of them now in the bye week. A lot has to do with, these punters are getting really good now. They can place the ball anywhere they can. They've got all the tools in their bag where they make it hard for the returner to catch it. So I think a lot of it has to do with, the punters, really elevating their game and kind of taking out returners. It also has to do with the coverages. It's tough to put a guy that knows where the ball's being punted, and he's basically got a 40 to 50-yard dash while guys backing up. So you'll see a lot more fair catching. You got guys that are running 4.3, 4.4 down there. I mean, it's going to be tough regardless. So I think it's just, the elevation of athletes in the game and the elevation of punters, really. I think punters are doing a really good job taking out opposing returners. Aaron had to do that a couple weeks ago against Deontay Harris with some hang times, putting the ball out of bounds. I mean, these guys are very good at their job, and it's really reaping the benefits from a coverage standpoint. And it's making it harder on the return team. But that's the great thing about special teams. You're always trying to find new challenges, and one of those challenges may be, finding a spark off your return game or in your punt block game.